Okay, good morning once again, dear viewers. I will be a reliever for the plenary speaker number 2. And this morning, I will talk about fostering growth mindset of teachers and researchers during the pandemic. Okay, so the pandemic actually changed the world. All aspects of human affairs have been significantly affected by the pandemic, and that includes the education sector. And so all the people, all the stakeholders in the education sector, the teachers, the learners, the researchers, they are all significantly affected by the pandemic. We cannot deny that the way we deliver education has been immensely influenced, to be specific. It has changed and challenged education, and it has therefore changed and challenged the teachers and the researchers. We are familiar with the struggles of these stakeholders, but we know that these stakeholders came up and are coming up with innovations. Because the time of the pandemic, since it is a time of struggles and it's a time for innovations, it's also a time to foster the growth mindset. So what is growth mindset theory? We have to thank Professor Carol Dweck of Stanford University for this idea. And this is actually a product of many years, decades of research. So in a growth mindset, people believe that their most basic intelligences and potentials can be developed through dedication and hard work. In other words, these intelligences and potentials can be developed with proper time management, commitment, hard work, and dedication. It is not something that is fixed at birth. According to the growth mindset theory, there are two mindsets. First, we have the fixed mindset, and the other one is the growth mindset. What are the research bases of the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset? I think it is best that we listen to the proponent of the theory herself. And I invite you to watch this short video clip as she explains to us the power of yet and the changing of mindsets.
The power of yet.
I heard about a high school in Chicago where students had to pass a certain number of courses to graduate, and if they didn't pass a course, they got the grade not yet. And I thought that was fantastic, because if you get a failing grade, you think, I'm nothing, I'm nowhere. But if you get the grade not yet, you understand that you're on a learning curve. It gives you a path into the future. Not yet also gave me insight into a critical event early in my career, a real turning point. I wanted to see how children coped with challenge and difficulty. So I gave 10-year-olds problems that were slightly too hard for them. Some of them reacted in a shockingly positive way. They said things like, "I love a challenge," or, "I was hoping this would be informative." They understood that their abilities could be developed. They had what I call a growth mindset. But other students felt it was tragic, catastrophic. From their more fixed mindset perspective, their intelligence had been up for judgment, and they failed. Instead of luxuriating in the power of yet, they were gripped in the tyranny of now. So what do they do next? I'll tell you what they do next. In one study, they told us they would probably cheat the next time instead of studying more if they failed a test. In another study, after a failure, they looked for someone who did worse than they did so they could feel really good about themselves. And in study after study, they have run from difficulty. Scientists measured the electrical activity from the brain as students confronted an error. On the left, you see the fixed mindset students. There's hardly any activity. They run from the error. They don't engage with it. But on the right, you have the students with the growth mindset, the idea that abilities can be developed. They engage deeply. Their brain is on fire with yet. They engage deeply. They process the error. They learn from it, and they correct it. And we can actually change students' mindsets. In one study, we taught them that every time they push out of their comfort zone to learn something new and difficult, the neurons in their brain can form new, stronger connections, and over time, they can get smarter. Look what happened. In this study, students who were not taught this growth mindset continued to show declining grades over this difficult school transition. But those who were taught this lesson showed a sharp rebound in their grades. We have shown this now, this kind of improvement, with thousands and thousands of kids, especially struggling students. The power.
Okay, so there you go. The short video clip wherein Professor Carol Dweck mentioned the researches conducted regarding the two types of mindsets. The brain study showed that the fixed mindset brain did not show any activity, while the growth mindset brain showed many activities. They noted new and stronger brain connections among learners who actually confronted the struggles and took effort to learn something new. So, this theory is actually a product of decades of study of Professor Carol Dweck of Stanford University, who who also worked as former professor of Harvard University and Columbia University. So there you go, the fixed mindset. It's like you accept that the ability of a person is fixed at birth, while if you have the perspective of a growth mindset, the one that you see on this side, you don't believe that the ability of a person is fixed at birth. Instead, you believe that there can be incremental growth with your effort and your dedication. So for the fixed mindset, there is the general belief that the character, intelligence, and creative ability are static givens, which we can't change in any meaningful way, or even with interventions. It also believes that success is the affirmation of that inherent intelligence and an assessment of how those givens measure up against an equally fixed standard. And for those with this perspective, striving for success and avoiding failure at all costs become a way of maintaining the sense of being smart or skilled. If you listen closely to the short video of Professor Carl, he mentioned about the studies conducted about learners who would rather cheat the next time rather than study, or who will find someone worse to make them appear that they are better, or who would run from difficulty. These kind of learners, this kind of people are those with fixed mindset. Whereas for those people with growth mindset, they thrive on challenge. They look at challenge as an opportunity to improve, as an opportunity to innovate, as an opportunity to evolve oneself and have a better version of oneself. It sees failure not as evidence of lack of intelligence or unintelligence, but rather as a heartening springboard for growth and for stretching our existing abilities. So if you are a person who does not even include failure in your vocabulary, but simply call it as a temporary setback, then you are a person having the growth mindset. So that's the difference between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset in terms of beliefs. I will be showing to you in the next slide, in this slide, how we differentiate a fixed mindset and growth mindset in terms of challenges, obstacles, efforts, criticism, and how we see the success of other people. For fixed mindset, there's the tendency to avoid the challenge or the challenges, while for growth mindset, there is the general tendency to embrace the challenge or the challenges. We look at challenges as part of life. It is an integral part of life. In terms of obstacles, for the fixed mindset, there's the tendency, the great tendency to give up easily. While for somebody with a growth mindset, there's the tendency to persist. There is a strong persistence amidst the struggles or the challenges. Now let's take a look at efforts. For someone with a fixed mindset, we see effort as fruitless, while for someone with a growth mindset, we see effort or efforts as the path to mastery. If we take the necessary efforts, then it is only a matter of time that we attain mastery. That is the thinking of a person with growth mindset. Now let's consider criticism. For someone with a fixed mindset, they try to ignore criticism as something useful. They take a look at the feedback as something that is negative and is hurting them personally. We have the opposite for someone with growth mindset. A person with growth mindset would take a look at criticism as something that is constructive, and there is absolutely nothing personal in it. Rather, they learn from the criticism. They use the criticism as source of insights for improvement. Now let's take a look at how we view success of other people. For someone with a fixed mindset, they feel threatened. They are threatened by the success and accomplishments of other people. But for someone with a growth mindset, they try to find lessons and inspirations from the success of other people. They are not at all threatened, but rather they are driven. They are further inspired to do better next time. So that's how we try to differentiate the fixed mindset and the growth mindset in terms of challenges, obstacles, efforts, criticisms, and how we see the success of other people. Just for further elaboration, in terms of beliefs, people with fixed mindsets believe that skills, intelligence, and talents are natural and are fixed. They also believe that failure is shameful and therefore should be avoided. They believe that some people indeed are naturally good at some things while others are not, and that we are not in control of our abilities. These are the basic beliefs of a person with a fixed mindset. Now try to reflect. Do you have this kind of beliefs? Or do you have this new set of beliefs? For people with growth mindset, they believe that we have the capacity to learn and to grow our skills. It's never final. There will always be the chance to improve and grow. People with growth mindset also believe that failure is not actually failure. Rather, it is simply a valuable lesson. And it is part of our journey, whether it is personal, it is professional, or academic journey. Also, they believe that people who are good at something are good at it because they built that ability. They work on them. It's not something that was naturally given to them and without exerting any effort. Yes, they believe that the potentials are given, but unless we work on these potentials, then they will not be improved. And they also believe that we are in control of our abilities, meaning we can do something to improve our abilities. Do you have this kind of beliefs? If you have, then most probably you are a person with a growth mindset. Is it possible that we have some beliefs belonging to that fixed mindset and some beliefs belonging to the growth mindset? Of course, the answer is yes. That's why we can change our mindset. We can work on it and eventually have growth mindset as our dominant mindset. Because whatever mindset that we choose, it becomes our mindset. So if you choose to have the fixed mindset, then really you will have that. So that means if we choose to have growth mindset and work on it, then eventually we will have this as our dominant mindset. Now, in terms of effort, for someone with a fixed mindset, it is not necessary and it is not useful. But for someone with a growth mindset, effort is necessary. In fact, it somehow validates the saying that constant correct practice makes perfect or leads to mastery. Again, in terms of challenges, as mentioned earlier, someone with a fixed mindset has the tendency to avoid challenges. They have the tendency to back down and then run away. Well, for somebody with a growth mindset, there is the general tendency to embrace the challenge or the challenges, looking at these challenges as part of life. Okay? In terms of errors or mistakes, for someone with a fixed mindset, there is also the general tendency to avoid mistakes. And they would get discouraged immediately when making mistakes. But for someone with a growth mindset, we see mistakes as part of learning. That's why we are learning. That means there is the possibility that we make mistakes. But we see these mistakes as opportunities to unlearn, to relearn, and to improve. We take a look at mistakes as opportunities to make ourselves better and to grow. Of course, I do not mean that we intentionally make mistakes. That's not what I mean. But whenever we make some mistakes, inadvertent, unavoidable mistakes, then we'll look at these mistakes as opportunities for improvement. Now, in terms of feedback, someone with a growth mindset would consider feedback as constructive. They appreciate criticisms, they appreciate feedback, and use it for improvement. In other words, they learn from the criticisms. Whereas for somebody with a fixed mindset, they immediately get defensive. They generally tend to take it personally and they try to ignore it as a useful input for improvement. Now, try to reflect. If you are listening right now, try to reflect. Which kind of mindset do you have? Are there instances when we are tempted to have the fixed mindset rather than the growth mindset? If yes, then that is absolutely normal. But of course, we have to consciously exert effort to have the growth mindset rather than the fixed mindset for our own benefit and for the benefit of the organization or the schools where we work. Another author mentioned that the growth mindset refers to an attitude focused on constant improvement. So, the fundamental elements of this way of thinking include personal development and continued learning. So, in other words, in a growth mindset, we always have this belief that there is always a room for improvement. We take on a positive attitude amidst the challenges and the struggles, and we embrace our reality that there is always a room for improvement. How do we foster growth mindset? What should we avoid? These are the don'ts that I have listed. So I have listed here a few don'ts only in the interest of time. One, don't focus on problems or struggles. Don't look at them as problems or struggles. Rather, look at them as opportunities for improvement. And I know this is kind of difficult, but if we focus on the problems and not on solutions, then we will be burdened. So if there are problems, then we identify the problems so we will be able to find, if not, make solution or solutions. Next, don't avoid change or changes. The time of the pandemic, this time is really a challenging time for the entire world. This is also a time of enormous changes in all aspects of human life, and that includes education, instructional delivery, instructional materials development, collaboration with learners, and collaboration with colleagues. There are many changes. Let us not avoid the changes because that's the only permanent thing in this world, change or changes. Don't seek approval from others. If you are coming up with your small or humble innovation as a practitioner, as a teacher, as a researcher, you don't need approval or validation of other people to make you feel good about yourself. Just go on with what you are doing, provided that you are doing it according to protocol, you are well informed by the current literature, then go for it. You don't need approval of other people as you take on the work that you have been doing for years, even amidst the change and challenge brought about by the pandemic. Next, don't focus on learning fast. Focus on learning well. Different people have different pace in learning. Some may be learning fast, but if you are not learning fast, there is no need to worry. Rather, focus on learning well. Enjoy the process. It is the process that will make you a better teacher and a better researcher and a better learner in life. Next, don't consider mistakes as failure. Mistakes are simply mistakes. We look at them as inputs for improvement, for innovation. These are only temporary setbacks. These should not stop us from trying anew. So we don't consider mistakes as failure. And don't expect to master without dedicating effort and time. For someone with a growth mindset, investment of time and effort is necessary. in order to gain mastery in whatever that we do, whether it is in pedagogy or whether it is in research. Let us not expect ourselves to master something, say the way we conduct research, say the different teaching strategies without dedicating effort and time. So these are big no-nos that we need to avoid if we want to foster growth mindset. We avoid all of this. So what should we do then? These are some suggestions that I can provide to you. You can Google many different strategies or tips provided by different experts, but I come up with my own list. I make it a short list, so at least we remember, if not all, many of them. One, consider challenges as opportunities. The pandemic provided us many challenges, but we look at these challenges as opportunities. If you listen closely to the talk of Dr. Morales an hour ago, there are many opportunities for research even amidst the pandemic. And there are new or innovative ways of data collection that we can use in order to still pursue the research undertakings. Yes, there may be challenges in the delivery of blended learning or flexible learning, but we consider these challenges as opportunities to understand the educational process better, to look at the current or existing educational practices and policies, and eventually work on some innovations to improve the current practices and policies. We don't avoid change or changes, as we said earlier. We try to embrace the change because as we embrace the change, we try to adapt to the current situation. It's not only the most intelligent that will survive and thrive in these challenging times. Those people who have the ability to adapt will be able to adjust and thrive in these challenging times. Work with people who have growth mindset. Work with people who have growth mindset because they will influence you to embrace growth mindset. These are people who will actually provide you assistance, who will actually cheer for you whenever you have accomplishments, no matter how little. And they will be willing to give you honest criticism face to face. Another thing to consider would be to embrace setbacks as opportunities for improvement. I am not saying that we should have no reasons to have any emotions at all. In times that there are setbacks, it is normal and it is okay not to be okay. It is okay that we feel bad at times, we get lonely at times, perhaps angry at times, but we don't dwell on these negative emotions. But rather, in times when there are setbacks, we take a look at setbacks as opportunities for improvement. It's like giving us another window to look at ourselves. It's like providing ourselves another way of looking at ourselves and at what we do so that we can improve ourselves better, we can improve what we do. We try to accept criticisms as part of personal and professional journey. Can you imagine a life without criticisms? I don't think that ever existed and that will ever exist. Criticisms will be part of life. It is part of our personal and professional journey. Let's accept criticism with openness or candor. Also, it is good to celebrate our growth, no matter how small. So every now and then, if we have an accomplishment, it is all right that we celebrate it, even if it is something that is small. Perhaps from the point of view of other people, it's just too small. But we celebrate our growth because we are affirming to ourselves that it is the best decision that you can take on, which is to have a growth mindset. And always cultivate a sense of purpose. Even in the small things that we do as we perform our duties as teachers and as researchers, we should cultivate a sense of purpose. There's no such thing as too small an accomplishment. There's no such thing as a minor work. So, in all the tasks given to us, let us always have a sense of purpose. And of course, always seek, and if the need arises, give scaffolding. Support other people. Seek support if you need it. It is not shameful to seek scaffolding from friends and colleagues. We are doing it because we believe that with the inputs and insights of other people, we can make ourselves better. That's why it is all right that we seek scaffolding. And it is also proper that we give scaffolding to other people. These are some simple things to bear in mind if we want to foster growth mindset. And this is something that will work for teachers, for researchers, and for teacher researchers. But this is also something that will work for anyone, even if they do not work as teachers or researchers. Especially for teachers and researchers, it is important that you join a community of practice, specifically in your discipline. This community of practice may be situated in your school, or it may be something that is online, so you can join groups of teachers and researchers, and then you can learn from them, seek assistance from them, seek suggestions from them. Also, dedicate time and effort for research and teaching innovations. So even if this is a challenging time for the implementation of flexible learning and of blended learning, we try to take time and effort to undertake research while we are teaching and to have some innovations as we do our teaching functions in these difficult times. Also, it would be good that we reflect on our work accomplishments as teacher and researcher. Perhaps a good way to look at it is try to reflect every week. For example, at the end of each week, try to find out if you have accomplished the tasks given to you as a teacher or researcher. If you have not accomplished your targets, perhaps you can seek assistance from other people around you who can provide you the necessary help. If you have made some accomplishments, no matter how little, take time to celebrate it and try to consider it as an input for further targets for your targets in the coming week. Celebrate your innovations and research undertakings, no matter how small. Perhaps others are involved in national research or a global research that is funded in and the amount is huge. We're speaking of millions of bases. Perhaps we are involved in research and innovations that would only have a small budget. It is all right. You are involved in an innovation or in a research. Let us celebrate this small accomplishment. This will fuel our positive attitude towards our work, towards our relationship with colleagues, and towards life in general. It is always good that we cultivate grit. So it's not just the simple intelligence that will work. It's not only the wit that will work. We try to cultivate the grit so we will be able to look for opportunities for growth, opportunities for improvement. And if you listen to the video, Professor Dweck, she was talking about the power of yet. Let us always use the power of yet. Although she talked about some learners in the research that she mentioned, the power of yet is also applicable to professionals like teachers and researchers. I remember she mentioned about the grade of students in Chicago, and the grade of those students who have not yet gained the mastery is not failed. It's not incomplete. It's not dropped. What is written as grade is not yet. So if you think that right now you are not still making significant accomplishments as teachers and researchers, perhaps your rating in your IPCR is not yet very satisfactory or outstanding. Let us not dwell on it in a negative way. Rather, let us use the power of yet. So, if your rating today, whether it is in the document, in your IPCR, or whether as you give your self-rating, it's not yet outstanding or very good, then there's no reason to be sad because we give ourselves the rating not yet. So let us not forget to use the power of not yet. The power of not yet means that the best for you is yet to come. So that is taking on a positive attitude. That is being resilient, okay? So that ends my short talk on fostering the growth mindset, especially of teachers and researchers during the pandemic. And I'd like to end this talk with this quote from Roger Clemens. I think anything is possible if you have the mindset and the will and desire to do it and put the time in. That is the growth mindset. Anything is possible. So there are things to remember when you get stuck. You can do anything, of course, not everything. Sometimes it takes more courage to ask for help. So it's okay to ask for help. If you find a path with no obstacles, it probably doesn't lead anywhere. So if right now there are obstacles in your path, then that is normal. It will lead you somewhere. We make a living from what we get. We make a life from what we give. So if there are people around you who are probably having fixed mindset, would you please give them some support so that they can embrace the growth mindset? Someday is not a day of the week. So don't have that someday attitude. Start today. Embrace the growth mindset starting right now, if right now you are having a fixed mindset. When it is dark enough, you can see the stars. That is taking on a positive view in life. And having a growth mindset is simply having a positive view in life. It is having a view that we can grow, we can be better than our current versions. I thank you all for listening. I would be willing to respond to some of your queries after this. Okay, are there questions from our viewers and from the chat box? Are there questions? So we can take a look at some of the comments from our viewers. So from Madame Prima Silvestre, thank you, inspiring. So we would like to thank you all for viewing this. If you are having an equally important undertaking right now, you can view this later. From Madame Mafe Molato, thank you, Dr. Bercasio. You are again reminding us not to worry about failures, because failures are not failures, they are simply temporary setbacks. We have someone, Sir Erwin Cruz, watching from Lyceum Northwestern University, watching from Bulacan. Thank you. And we have some comments. Thank you for the encouraging words. This is really inspiring in addressing the personal and professional challenges in this time of pandemic. Looking forward to see these challenges as opportunities most of the time. Yes, if you have the growth mindset, we simply look at challenges as opportunities in disguise. Yes to the power of yet. So the next time you encounter some learners in your classes with grades that are not very satisfactory, or if your rating as a teacher is not very satisfactory, we will not say poor, we will not say needs improvement. The grade that we will give to these learners and to ourselves is not yet. Given the proper time to exert effort, to do some practice, not yet will be replaced by very satisfactory or outstanding ratings. We have some comments here. Good morning, watching from my classroom at Antipolo City, Philippines. Okay, let me take a look at the Zoom room if there are some questions. Yes, we have from Sir Carlos. As a novice teacher, how do we inspire some seasoned teachers who have fixed mindset to have growth mindset in the workplace? Yeah, very interesting. It is normal for people to have a combination of fixed mindset and growth mindset, but we will have to work on it so that we will have the growth mindset as the dominant mindset. What do we do? How do we inspire them? if they have seen life, they have experienced life for more years than you have experienced or we have experienced, it is indeed a challenge to inspire them to embrace growth mindset. But please remember that aging is different from growing. Aging would mean the increase in the age, the number of years that you live. But growing is not determined by the number of years. So even if they are a bit old and will just be staying for a few more years in the service, it is important that they still embrace changes and challenges as opportunities to unlearn and relearn. I think I know specifically the example because there are some colleagues in our university. They have some difficulties coping up with the changes and challenges in the implementation of the flexible learning. So instead of being open to these challenges and changes as opportunities, for example, to learn how to use different technology tools, they decided to run away, have the break, and take on early retirement. Of course, we respect that. Perhaps it is a product of deep thinking and reflection. But if you are going to stay for a couple of years more in the service, there is actually no other choice except to look at these changes and challenges as opportunities to unlearn some old practices that are not anymore working and to learn some technology tools and other strategies for us to survive and thrive in these challenging times. So, how do we do it? Persistence will help. Don't give up. So if you are a young faculty trying to influence an old faculty in the use of technology tools, please don't give up. Please have persistence and then offer help to them in a proactive way, and in a non-threatening way. Yes, I hope I was able to give you some insights. May I take a look at some of the comments of our viewers? Thank you very much for watching, friends. Until this time, I know it is almost lunchtime. From Madam Sandra Alamo Casitas, thank you, ma'am, for the comprehensive and meaningful discussion. And thank you very much from Albay Central School of Legazpi. Yes, we have some other comments and insights. Thank you very much. We were indeed inspired by your talk. God bless. This is from Sir Alvin Masamok Mahawan from the Best Mascot, Masbate. Thank you very much, everyone. Those who are watching from Masbate and from the Best Mascot, how are you? Thank you all for watching. I think there are no more questions. So we end the open forum here. Once again, thank you all for watching. I hope you will start embracing the growth mindset now.